I feel very unprepared for this, but I'm sure it will be fun.
It'll be 100% fine. It's like I've been way less prepared. Oh, live.
Hi, everybody. Tim and I were just saying how, boy, we're a little rusty at this, and nothing says rusty like suddenly realizing you are live.
Are we actually live? I'm watching it too, just on my.
There's a delay, so it's gonna be we're live, but they won't see us being live yet, but they will see this.
Yep.
The delay catches up.
Yep, there it is. Sorry, I missed that part. Cool. Yeah. Hi. We are rusty. This is a little strange. Also, we haven't done one like as staff with like 2 people in totally different places because we're all like isolating. We're not going into the office still. So that's some new stuff happening over here.
We're figuring it out. We're here with you in the messy first draft virtual write-in version. It's just we're being on brand. NaNoWriMo is all about figuring it out as you go along.
Cool. Intro wise, I'm Tim. I'm a program director over at National Novel Writing Month. And I think I recognize some names in the chat. So that's so nice to see. Thanks for joining us.
My name is Sarah. I'm the Director of Community Engagement at NaNoWriMo. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I live in Canada. So usually I'm not in the virtual write-ins because they happen in the office. And occasionally I go down and show up in the random virtual write-in when I'm in the office. But this year we figured out a way to do them remotely. So now I can participate. So hello, everybody.
Woohoo. Yeah, my pronouns are he, him, his. I forgot that part. Sorry. Cool. Have y'all, like, we can see y'all in the chat. Love seeing you guys say hi. Love hearing where y'all are from. I'm actually over in Berkeley, California. Sarah pointed out where our office is. And have y'all been to virtual write-ins before? Is this, yeah, like, are y'all new? Is it old hat?
I can tell some people are veterans because they said, I miss Tim's laugh. And we were actually just saying in a meeting the other day that we should make like, there's those channels where it's like background coffee noise. And we were saying we should make a background like NaNoWriMo office noise because we also are not used to not all being in the same place. And so we were talking about what all the sounds of the office would be. And number one was Tim's very distinctive laugh, which if you've ever been to a virtual write-in before, even when Tim is not running it, you can hear him laughing down in the main part of the office, and it's very characteristic of a NaNoWriMo virtual write-in. So it's nice to have Tim in the one today. Laughing for us.
I really enjoy the idea of NaNoWriMo office ambient noise. I think it would be really fun.
I think it would be good. I would write to that. Like what we agreed there was like a bunch of different things that would be like the classic office noises. The water cooler, noise from the bakery next door that's in the office. So we're here with everybody who's still kind of figuring out how November is going to look in a year that's not what we're used to. So I think this is going to be a fun way to connect with people, hear about what people are feeling for this year's NaNoWriMo, what they're trying to do to get ready for a really different feeling NaNoWriMo. And I'm excited to have this way to talk to people and connect when we're physically distant, but not emotionally distant.
I think we're gonna try to have a lot, maybe some more virtual write-ins than usual this year. And also so cool to see a lot of people. It looks like a lot of first timers, which is so awesome. Welcome to a virtual write-in. Just so we'll explain it a little bit just for all y'all who are new. So virtual write-ins, this will go for about an hour. And usually we'll have like different prompts or different writing exercises. We'll set a timer for those, and then we'll all kind of do the writing exercise together. And then at the end of the time, we'll kind of let everybody know time's up. And then after that, if you want to, we'll ask a question or like invite folks to share a little bit of what they wrote. And if you're down to do that, you'll put that in the comments, and then we'll read some out loud. And it's a good time overall. But that's kind of the general vibe. Also, I'm gonna get up to close my door here because there are other people here.
I also saw people asking, can we ask questions? Is this like, will you answer stuff? And We will try to keep up with the chat as best we can. We also have Catherine, our communications manager, is managing the NaNoWriMo commenter in the chat there. So she will flag any questions for us as well, but we'll try to catch them. If we miss your questions, feel free to ask them again. It scrolls pretty fast and we have like 6 tabs open to manage everything. And if we miss your question, feel free to ask it again. We are happy to answer questions. And the one question I see today is, so we're going to be writing full out even though it's prepping. We're going to be writing prep exercises, basically. So it is Nano prep. NaNoWriMo hasn't started yet. I have lost all sense of time, but I am very confident it is not November yet. So we're going to be doing some exercises to help you get ready for NaNoWriMo. And part of the reason for that is it is officially Nano prep season. And what that means is we have the next 6 weeks kind of planned out where we walk you through all the things you can do to help feel really ready to write a novel in November. Some of that is actual like novel outlining, idea generation, character development, world building, all of that. But some of it's also just getting your life ready to really focus on your creativity in November and think about what that's going to look like. So this is all getting ready for NaNoWriMo. Maybe it is going to be actual longhand writing where you're writing like a scene or something like that. But basically, it's just kind of getting your creative juices running and getting that side of your brain going again.
Totally. And for today, we're going to kind of be focusing on the prompts that I put. I put actually a bunch of the prompts in the description of the video below. If you're not seeing those there, it's because you were an early bird and you showed up before I changed the video description. So you might need to refresh your page, but otherwise they should be there. And then I think I saw someone else, Al Spriggs, was asking, I hope poor Blobby isn't at the office all alone. Blobby is being well taken care of by Sporgy, the space corgi, and some other stuffed animals. And we are checking in on the office every once in a while just to make sure, you know, they're not getting up to too much trouble. So thanks for asking after Blobby. We should probably bring him to someone's house.
We should like rotate him through staff, right? Like everybody should get like a Blobby shift. Blobby, for those of you who are new to virtual write-ins, is a large, what are those called?
Plushable, I think.
No, is it? I don't know. He's a stuffed animal. He's a stuffed dinosaur who is the NaNoWriMo mascot. He's very spherical. He's extremely cute. And he features in a lot of virtual write-ins. So that's a good point. We will make sure that he to in-jokes and running jokes that don't make sense to people who weren't squishable. Thank you, Catherine. Running jokes that don't make sense to people who haven't been around, but we are always happy to attempt to explain them. I feel like between me and Tim, we've been around a while. We can probably cover most of them. Maybe we'll see how it goes.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
It's similar to a Squishmallow, but it's like the precursor to Squishmallows. They're not quite as squashy as Squishmallows, which I know because my children have quite a few Squishmallows. So similar idea, but like the precursor.
Woohoo, okay, well, we're so glad to see y'all. We're super, super excited to do the first virtual write-in of the season. I think, you know, we, like Sarah was saying, feeling a little bit rusty, but also like pretty pumped and excited. So I think should we do our first little exercise?
Let's do it. Let's get started. Let's start getting those sides of our brains going and see if our hands remember how to write. I have my pen. It feels important.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So like Sarah was saying, this is week 1 of our Nano Prep 101 workshop, and we're really focused on idea generation. So a couple of things. You know, a lot of times we have these exercises or these activities or prompts, and sometimes they work for people and sometimes they don't. Maybe in this particular week, maybe you already have your idea or you already like are very confident about what you're planning to write in November, which is amazing. So if the exercises don't quite work for you, please feel free to not do them. So when we're doing these kind of timed writing exercises, you can just maybe start brainstorming or free writing or something else that's like going to be more helpful for you. But if the exercises do work for you, like it'd be great to try them out. And honestly, sometimes like even if you're really confident about your idea right now, there's still enough time before November that, you know, sometimes those plot bunnies just hit, right? So yeah, just that disclaimer, if they don't work for you, totally okay. Please feel free to do your own thing. But yeah, these ones are going to be pulled straight from our Nano Prep 101 workshop. you can go to the link. I actually included links for that whole thing in the description below. Someone described my hands as spider hands when I do this. Yeah. Sarah, will you talk us through that first prompt?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me just get the right screen up here. So what we're going to do today is start by borrow a plot. So what you're going to do is you're going to think of a book or a movie or a story that you love, include the important characters, major plot turns and setting, and write a summary of that story. So you're not generating new ideas at this point. You're writing the main beats of a story that you know well, that you're familiar with, that's going to be your jumping off point for getting your brain thinking about how story ideas work. So Tim, do we have a time we were going to use for this?
Yes, we do have a time, but do you want to give an example just so people have an idea?
Well, I was going to do, as you may notice by my background today, a Star Wars theme. I'm leaning towards Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi is going to be the one where I'm going to write myself a summary of the main plot beats and the characters and anything relevant to the overall vibe of that story that I can think of that feels like the general summary of that story. So you can pick anything that strikes your fancy and just start writing your summary of that story. And Tim, what did you say was going to be the time on that?
I think let's just go for 5 minutes. And then if you finish your summary really fast, try doing another one.
If I finish, I will do episode 5 and work backwards.
Hudson asked, how long should these summaries be? And they can be however long you want them to be. Usually they're pretty short. So I'd say maybe like on average, there may be like 3 to 6 sentences maybe. But honestly, you can make them however long you want.
Do you want to set a timer or you want me to?
I will set a timer for 5 minutes. All right, ready, set,
yeah,
go. got about a minute and a half left in this sprint. All right, time's up. Cool, so wrap up. If you're still in the middle of writing, wrap up the sentence you're on. And then if y'all want to share like what plot you borrowed or even a sentence from the rewrite you did, we would love to see those in the chat. If you also want to share maybe just how many words you wrote, that could be fun too. We usually do that more when the event's actually running because, you know, we're all tracking our word count. But this might be a good way to get in that habit too. Sarah, how did yours go?
Mine was good. I got sidetracked halfway through writing my summary because I started thinking about, I was like, okay, it's episode 6. Also, I guess this is spoilers for like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 40-year-old movie. So heads up. But I was thinking about the fact that the sort of central plot is the Empire is constructing a second Death Star. The Rebel Alliance is trying to bring them down. They end up with the Ewoks. There's the whole thing on the moon, and then the side plot of Luke trying to redeem his father. It's kind of the big arc there. But I started thinking about like who was the like middle management Death Star engineer who had to figure out like where in their blueprints the flaw was. So I sort of set myself up for the second phase of this prompt by getting distracted by that, which is what I like about writing a summary, is that even just as you're thinking about a story that you know really well, once you're actually sort of walking through the beats of the story in your head, you start identifying like questions that come up or characters that really stand out that aren't necessarily ones that you've thought about ahead of time. And I was thinking I was gonna think about the perspective of the Ewoks in this movie, but then I got really sidetracked by the idea of this like middle management, like nobody engineer on the Death Star. And that was the thing that writing that summary sparked. What about you? What did you write about?
I ended up, we were like, here in our office's Slack channel, we've been talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender a lot. So that was on my mind. So I ended up doing a summary of that, which was fun and actually like pretty hard. I was like, wow, they pack a lot of setup into like, 'cause I ended up just really summarizing the first episode.
It's like the exact opposite of Star Wars, which you can sum up in like 10 words pretty succinctly.
I'm gonna see, let's see what people have written in the comments. Well, this is cool. So Morgan Yua said that I managed to do 2 summaries, one from The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman and the other for Moon of the Crusted Snow by, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that name correctly, Wabgishig Rice, which I just read, which is really cool. I remember reading The Yellow Wallpaper. That sounds like a really fun one to summarize.
I see Simon Apollo said they worked on The Princess Bride, and that one's actually really been on my mind lately too, because there was that cast table read over the weekend. And that's a really fun one to do, is like a movie that you know well, but maybe haven't thought about in a long time, that maybe how you think about it will have changed in the time since you've watched it, just as like your awareness has changed. And I really like that sort of coming to an older thing in your mind from a fresh perspective is something that I always find kind of gets things going in my head.
Yeah,
one thing that was really noticeable from that table read is that Buttercup was a character with a lot more like, I don't even know, like self-directed will. Like she's so passive in the movie, and I felt like Robin Wright really tried to give her some like oomph in the table read in a way that was really interesting.
that's so cool. Yeah, I also thought that was interesting because like I was writing the summary from memory, of course, and as I was doing it, it was interesting to think about, whoa, which characters do you think of first? Which plot points do you think of first? And just kind of like examining the way the kind of like story hierarchy is in your memory, which I think is really interesting.
It's also such a valuable exercise in like, what about stories like stands the test of time and really sticks with people? And so like, what do you want to be focusing on when you're writing your own stories that you know is going to be what really resonates with people?
Yeah. China, who's one of our interns this year, is in the comments, and she says that she did Princess and the Frog, which is awesome.
Good choice. I'm a big Princess and the Frog fan.
And then I think I saw someone, here we go, Lexus Clark was saying they've got 118 words for the summary and they did Gone Girl, which also sounds like a really fun one to do. Cool. Should we?
I'm a little concerned that Brillador says they can identify with that middle management nobody on a space weapon of mass destruction. Like I kind of have some follow-up questions about like, what's your job exactly? Is it the middle management part that's relatable, or is it the space weapon of mass destruction that's relatable?
Ooh, a couple of people, CB394 says they did Iron Man. What Feels Real did Where the Wild Things Are. These are really
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
KK says, I find my head is so full of what I want to write, it's difficult for me to refocus. That's totally, in terms of like, you already have an idea, and so it's like hard to do these exercises. If that's what you're saying, I'd say that actually maybe one thing that could be fun is trying to do this for the idea that you already have, like putting together a summary for what your idea is, as if it was something you've already written or absorbed, you know? Like, I think that could be cool.
Another thing you could do is if you're planning to write a sequel or a contribution in like a series that you've been writing, is to like do the summary of the previous work that you've written in the past and sort of like get that sort of those storylines and those characters, like get back in the head of those and be like, oh, what were the most important plot beats from my previous story about this? Because I know a lot of people use NaNoWriMo to sort of work on series or write a sequel. And sort of writing those top level summaries, these are basically like the IMDb summaries of movies, right? So if you can do that about your previous story or the idea that you have, it's a really good way to figure out like what are the priorities and the main parts of this story.
That's an awesome idea. Yeah, I really like that. Cool. Okay. Well, I hope you guys are feeling a little bit more warmed up, feeling like some of those like writing juices. I saw some people were saying, oh, my wrists are sore. It's been a while since I've done this. So glad to kind of ease back into the habit of writing and of being creative, if it's been a little bit for y'all. So I think the next prompt, Sarah, will you talk us through that one too?
Yeah, so I was sort of touching on this earlier, but what we're going to do now is play with your borrowed plot. Start changing around different parts, characters, settings, plot turns, adjectives, verbs, anything to sort of put a different spin on a story you already know. So as I was saying, originally I was thinking I would do like Star Wars Return of the Jedi from the perspective of an Ewok, which I think actually is a really interesting story of like the alternate view of that. But now I'm really stuck on this middle management engineer at the Death Star. And so what does that story look like from their perspective? I'm going to say it's a woman. So let's say she is sort of a nobody who doesn't get much attention. What about that? What's her story? What's her point of view? And I was telling this to my 7-year-old the other day, like everybody's the main character of their own life. And so what's her storyline? What's her plot line going to be? And figuring out what that story arc would be, and writing a sort of a summary of what that story might look like. So take what you've written from your summary of something you already know and put a spin on it and figure out, maybe you're going to do a character sketch of someone that stood out to you. Maybe you're going to do another plot summary of the story from that person's perspective. Maybe you're going to do a whole new story based on that as a jumping off point. But think about who really stood out to you in that in that first exercise.
All right, so then maybe this one's maybe going to take a little bit more thinking. So why don't we go a little bit longer for this one? I'll say the 7 minutes sound okay to everyone, or we could go to 10. It's a little bit longer.
Like we could do 7 minutes, seems good to me. Also, yes, Haley, to answer your question, I am wearing a Star Wars shirt. It says "May the Force be with you."
Okay, all right, let's try 7. Oh, wait, a couple of people are saying 10. I think
Maybe we should, let's do 8.5.
Okay, I'll do I honestly will do it for 8.5, which I think is funny. Okay, all right, ready, set, go.
My hand is literally like cramping because I've been writing so little by hand lately.
Got about 3 minutes left in this sprint. Got a little more than 30 seconds left. Ooh, that's time. Ooh, awesome. All right, so finish up those sentences, and then if you want to share word count and what you wrote, if you just continued writing, working on a work in progress, or if you ended up doing a spin on the summary that you wrote, if you want to share a little bit about how you changed the summary, that would be great. Sarah?
Wow, my hand is seriously cramping up. So I wrote about my middle manager from the Empire. I didn't give her a name because I started to think about it, and then I panicked about trying to come up with a Star Warsy enough name, and then I did the trick that I always recommend during November, which is that you can just write add good name here later and keep going. So I'm taking suggestions for good Star Wars character names for middle management engineers on the Death Star. So after the Darth Vader force choked the entire management team of the engineering division of the Empire, she finds herself unexpectedly promoted to running the inquiry into what happened with the first Death Star. And previously she had just been the middle manager in charge of garbage chute design. So she's feeling a little overwhelmed and working a lot of late nights. And she unexpectedly befriends the droid R2Q5. And then they end up having this sort of like, I haven't decided yet if it's going to be a romance or like a buddy comedy, but it's like the burning the candle at the both ends in the management department of engineering to try to figure out what went wrong and learn a few lessons about themselves along the way.
That's so fun.
It was pretty fun. That was fun to write. Also, she's obsessed with impressing Grand Moff Tarkin. He's like her professional idol, and so she thinks that Darth Vader is too like flashy and overrated. And so she's like, no, you got to be like the guy behind the scenes getting it all done.
I love it.
What about you?
Well, sorry, I'll get to mine, but I was also going to say I laughed a lot because Catherine, who's behind the NaNoWriMo account in the comments, was like, thanks for making me set a weird end time, guys.
All right, Catherine. I was trying to compromise. Oh, we were just learning about conflict resolution styles yesterday. Clearly, I was going for the compromise one there that nobody's actually happy with.
I was also realizing that because we're doing speaker view on Zoom, it like lands on the person who spoke last before a sprint, and then it's just their face in silence for the whole sprint.
MLs have made Zoom screens that are like sprint in progress. Join us, and I think we should get one of those and have a third person who's just like the screen share person, and we put those up when they
Oh my gosh, yes, that's a great idea.
MLs are always coming up with some great innovations. Okay, tell us about what you wrote.
Cool. So I did, let me see if I can find it again. I'll just read the first like couple sentences. So I did 2 weeks ago, the avatar disappeared. What was once the air nomad's most sacred duty to protect and guide the most spiritual and powerful human in the world became their most abject failure. In less than a fortnight, she lost her home, her purpose, and her family. Her parents told her to disappear as deeply as she might be able and to never tell anyone where she was truly from. But then I got cut off when I was about to talk about how she like goes on a revenge spree.
Did you see that thing I tweeted this morning about the 10-year-old girl and what every story needs?
Yes.
Maybe you were low-key inspired by that. I'll put the link in the comments. It was a really good tweet.
I'm really excited to see what other people wrote too. Carolyn said that was really, really fun, which is so great. I'm so glad it was fun. Let's see.
I am very into Rissa Anderson's idea to rewrite Mia from the Princess Diaries, where she finds out she comes from a line of assassins instead of royalty, and it's her turn to take the place in the family business. I'm like, yes, let's go. I'm ready.
That sounds so fun. Let's see. Simon Apollo did The Princess Bride from the perspective of Prince Humperdinck.
Oh, man, I would read that.
That's fantastic. Havoc with that got 404 words total, which is incredible. They're pretty happy about that, which you totally should be. I did not get that many words. Let's see. Ooh, Squeaky Secret says, Jurassic Park becomes people surveying Mars. A Mars quake releases friendly and hostile aliens that the people must navigate around to get back to headquarters and back home. That sounds awesome. I would totally love to read that. Kate Lyons said, I did a summary for my NaNo novel and compared the two summaries to see what story beats might help flesh out the relationship between my main character and her love interest, which that sounds really fun too. Like if you already have an idea and you already have a sense of the characters, of writing a summary from each one's perspective to do exactly what you said, to flesh out the story beats, that sounds like a great idea.
Samantha Leiter said, I took the Wizard of Oz, aged up Dorothy, and changed it so that the Witch of the West is not evil, but trying to combat an evil being and needs help. And first of all, super into that idea. Second of all, I feel like that's such a good example of, like, fanfic, I feel like gets kind of looked down on sometimes as being like a lesser form of writing. But like Gregory Maguire has become incredibly famous and successful by writing fanfic, because Wicked is like, that's fanfic. Yeah. It's fanfic that's like in a fancy book and a musical, so people don't think it's fanfic, but it's fanfic. And I am super into that idea of like aging up Dorothy and turning it into like an adult story of trying to combat an evil being. I feel like that's it's going to be a really dramatic story.
Oh my gosh, EP Lady wrote, I made Anne of Green Gables conquer Australia with an army of ogres.
Love it.
Truly fascinating. I'm so curious. Why? Why did she conquer Australia? Is she just looking for more bosom friends?
I feel like there's like a whole like British Empire arc there, where like Canadians are said like had enough of Australia getting all the publicity or something.
Wow.
I'm into it.
These are such good ideas, y'all. I love reading these. So much fun. I hope y'all are feeling inspired or like feeling kind of those idea wheels turning a little bit.
Also, Joelle is complimenting your headband, and it does tell you how long we have all been in this situation, that like a couple of weeks into all of us working from home, Tim shaved his head and now he's moved to like headband levels. And it's like, this has been going on for a long time, man.
My hair grows fast, and like I'm in that weird middle phase where I buzz my head, and now I'm just like I don't want to do it again, but I also don't feel 100% comfortable with going to get a haircut yet, so it's just like long and annoying. All right, should we do our last one? Wait,
Yeah.
I need to highlight this one last one from Polly Washburn. Pride and Prejudice as a polyamorous romp.
Wow. So is that like polyamorous? You think like Mr. Collins is in the mix there? Like, what are we doing here? I have follow-up questions. I'm very intrigued. This is clearly a storyline that's catching my attention.
Oh my gosh, Nick is here. Nick is one of our former interns too. Hi, Nick. All right, let's do our last one. Time's going fast.
It always does.
All right. I will talk through the prompt, and then Sarah, if you'll give the time and all that, I'll leave it to you.
All right.
Okay, so the prompt three is borrow a character. So you could either borrow a character from an existing property, or just like somebody that maybe you see randomly from your window. Maybe there's someone who walks by a lot that you're like curious about. So invent a history or future for someone. Maybe it's a friend you lost touch with after college, a teacher you had, a family member you've only heard stories about, or just someone you've seen in photos, or just in your neighborhood somewhere. Who are they? Why do they intrigue you? What was their childhood like? What do they dream about? What's their greatest desire? What obstacles do they face? What's their greatest triumph? So just doing a little kind of imaginative free thinking around a character that you might have in mind. Does that make sense?
I think so. And one of the things that like really stands out to me about this time when we're all out in the world less, even if we're back out to some degree, is like you don't see the people that were like the minor characters in your life as often, you know, like the person who always took the bus with you or that you always saw walking their dog with you. You don't see the same people as often these days. So maybe take this moment to like imagine what they're up to or what they're doing with themselves and what's their story.
Yeah. I think
how long do we want to go for this one?
Ooh. So it's our last one. We've got about 15 minutes left. We could do another 8 minutes.
We'll do 8, not 8.5, just to make Catherine's life a little easier.
Yeah, sorry, Catherine.
All right. Sorry, what were you going to say about Mariah?
I don't remember. Also, I low-key feel like I'm playing chicken with you to see who talks last. So they get it frozen.
That was not my intent, but now I'm doing that. All right, are we ready? Are we starting? You're trying to chicken me. I see what you're doing. All right, fine. We're going for 8 minutes, and we are starting now. 30 seconds left.
Woohoo.
And time.
Awesome.
All right. How did everybody do? What did everybody write about? Tim, what did you write about?
I wrote about this guy that I went on a first date with years and years ago who it was a terrible date. he, he told me he had just moved back from Alaska literally like 3 days ago. And I was like, oh, cool. What were you in Alaska for? And he had followed a guy there. And then the guy had dumped him within 3 months of him moving. So there's some story potential there, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely some story potential there. I like that. Mine was, I was trying to think about who are the people in my day-to-day life that I do still see. And I thought about the person who stocks the shelves at the grocery store. And so my opening line was, nobody paid her much attention before, but that was before the pandemic. And then I turned it into like a suburban thriller about, and where people are trying to like get her involved in like underground crime syndicates. And I decided the title would be The Toilet Paper Mafia.
Oh my God.
And it's going to be like hardcore suburban moms who are like trying to get her to compromise her morals to get them toilet paper when it's unavailable.
I love it. That's so funny.
It's pretty fun, actually. I don't really want to write a pandemic novel because like pandemic life is plenty for me, but it was kind of fun to imagine what that might look like.
So before we kind of dive into what other people wrote, Penumbra Mine MM Ward asked, how do you resist the shiny new story ideas when you have the prep work for others done? Any thoughts, Sarah?
I feel like I have to like really interrogate, am I intrigued by the shiny new ideas because it's actually a better idea that's going to be more fun to write? Or is it just like shiny new object syndrome, which is legitimate and something that I definitely struggle with myself? But if it's a case of like, now that you've done the planning, the original idea is less appealing because the planning and the thinking about the story is kind of the fun part, then I think don't give up on your story that quickly, because the writing is also fun. It's just easy to get distracted by the new shiny thing. But if you're intrigued by your new idea because it genuinely feels like more fun, like do a little sketch of it and see if there's like really if it's as robust an idea as you think it is, and see like it's okay to write something different than what you thought you were going to write. You know, like this is not, we're not writing like, you know, the GRE here. If it's not what you thought you were going to write, it's only September. Like come up with a new idea, see if it fleshes out, and that's okay. You don't have to do what you thought you were going to do just because you thought we were going to do it. But don't just switch to a new shiny object simply because it's new and shiny, because everything that's new and shiny eventually ceases to be new and shiny. So take a new shiny object, see if it's, you know, give it a road test to see if it's actually got some legs, and then decide what you actually are most excited about writing. Because I think that especially this year more than like ever before, something that's going to be fun to write, that you're going to be excited to write, is so important. Because like everything else sucks enough. Like let's have some fun with our story ideas, you know?
I totally agree. And I think what you were saying just about like the timing too, like right now, you know, it's September, we're still a little ways out from November when you're actually really, you know, hoping to commit to an idea and push hard on it. So I think right now, you know, it's not a terrible thing to kind of explore the other ideas that come into mind, because the other thing that could potentially happen is you might realize how it feeds into your existing story idea, or like you might start making connections between ideas that like you didn't see before, or like it might help you take a new perspective, like, you know, exactly what we're doing now, right? Like it might give you a different perspective on the story you were planning to write. And so I think like that could be really, it could be, there's still time to kind of explore all of the fun new ideas and the things that are really exciting you. And then like Sarah was saying, doing that interrogation of like, what is really exciting to me about this idea? And if I really, really, really want to write this one particular story, like how can I replicate what's fun and exciting about this new idea in the existing story too? Yeah.
I like the idea too that like maybe it's all the same story and you just need to find the places where they actually intersect, and then like it's all one idea that just needs to get brought together.
Yeah.
We're almost out of time already.
I know. Let's read like maybe like 2 of the people's submissions, and then after that try to wrap up.
Yeah, that sounds good. I am very into Tendo Queen, and I took my next door neighbor and turned him into a secret supervillain with an underground lair. I love that idea. My favorite part about that is now every time you see your next door neighbor, you're gonna be like, what are you doing in there? What's going on? What do you got down there? And like, I like the idea of like adding intrigue to your daily life, just by thinking about who the people that you see are and what they might be doing.
That's so fun. Okay, cool. So the one I wanted to pull out was Justine Shiva wrote, I focused on Stuart Sutcliffe, a former member of the Beatles who died at a very young age. He was supposed to play the bass, but he was bad at it, so he had to play with his back to the audience, which I think is that's so cool. Like that's a really interesting character to think about, or like a historical figure to think about how you might create a character around them. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, this is the end. Thank you so much for coming to write with us. It's our first virtual write-in of the season, which is always really, really fun. So nice to see a bunch of familiar faces. I also saw Maddie in there, who was also a former intern, and then also just, you know, Penumbra and a bunch of other people who are familiar faces from previous virtual write-ins. We're gonna keep doing these. I think our next scheduled one is it next week or in 2 weeks, Sarah? Do you remember?
Oh, I totally don't remember, but I can look on the calendar just a second.
Okay.
Vamp for a minute and I'll look.
Okay. The other thing is if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll get alerts for when all of these happen. And so that might be an easier way to keep track. And we also have a calendar on the website. So if you go to nanowrimo.org/calendar, we'll also try to make sure we message this stuff or remind you all about this stuff. I don't know if you can see, I don't think you can see Sarah, but her cat just walked right in front of her face.
Fully in front of my face. Yeah. Yep. Also, it's not on the calendar if it is next week, so I can't, or in the next 2 weeks, so I cannot tell you when it is, but hopefully Catherine will chime in. Next virtual write-in is September 25th, not scheduled on the calendar yet, but will be soon.
Yay, thanks, Catherine.
Also, if you were inspired by this and are ready to announce your novel for 2020, you can do that on the NaNoWriMo site now. Tell your friends. Bring your buddies, bring your enemies, and like set a secret like goal to beat them. I feel like that's always a motivating approach. If you like Tim's NaNoWriMo Word Slayer sweatshirt, that and much of our other 2020 merchandise is available now at store.nanowrimo.org.
I was posing over here and then I realized they can't even see me, but
you gotta pose. Okay. The sweatshirts are particularly awesome this year. There's also, you can continue the discussion in our forums. We've got NanoPrep 101 week 1. Tim, did you put that in the description, the link to that?
I did, yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, join us on the forums to continue talking about what you're going to do for your novel and how you're getting your story development kind of underway and what you're thinking about. And thank you to everybody who likes my kitty. He appreciates your attention. He thinks it's lunchtime, but lunchtime is not for another hour, so he's going to have some words for me. And I think that's all we got for today.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. So good to see y'all. So excited to write with y'all.
Thanks for coming.
And